Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice. We're telling the stories of Kansas City nonprofits and the people behind them. Casey Cares is the intersection of the nonprofit and profit communities, making Kansas City a better place to live, work, and play. Casey Cares is proudly sponsored by the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggis. Remember being 17? Or maybe some of you aren't there yet, but exploring who you are, headed into the next chapter of your life, full of promise. When Lamonte McIntyre was 17, he faced a dramatically different scenario. He was arrested and eventually convicted of a double murder in Kansas City, Kansas. A murder conviction some 23 years later was overturned on a very important date for him, October 13th, 2017. Lamonte is not alone in being wrongly convicted. According to the University of Michigan, 137 people were exonerated in 2021 alone, including Kansas City area resident Kevin Strickland, whose case grabbed national headlines. Rather than wallow in the miscarriage of justice against him, Lamonte joined hands with another man who was wrongly convicted and exonerated, Reverend Darrell Burton, to help those men and women after their release through their nonprofit organization, which is Miracle of Innocence, which provides a pathway to post-prison life. And we're so honored to have Lamonte with us today. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you. So I've got to ask, take us back, if you'd be so willing, to those years ago when you faced this charge and you were convicted. Can you share with us a little bit the background so our audience will have a good sense of what you've been dealing with?
Absolutely. 1994, when I was 17 years old, I was arrested and eventually convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder of 2 people that I never heard of, never knew about, or was never connected to. So, of course, after I got convicted of the murders, I went to this deep, dark place, right? So for the first 5 years of that experience, it was just a blur. So I don't remember a lot of it. It was like in and out. I just remember being so sad and so hurt and I just didn't understand how I could be convicted of a crime that I knew nothing about or was not connected to in any way. So for the first 5 years, it was just a real dark time for me because I was a 17-year-old kid, so I didn't understand really how to process none of those emotions and none of those feelings that I had at that time. But yeah, that was the first. That's how it happened. 2 counts of first-degree murder, and I just ended up and they sentenced me to 2 life sentences. So of course, at the time, I didn't understand what that meant either because I was new to that system. I was new to the justice system. I didn't understand really the wording behind the sentencing guidelines, anything like that. But during the time of me being in prison, I realized what that meant. So I had a life sentence for each murder that I was charged with. So that was my sentence when I ended up in prison.
How did you cope?
The first 5 years, it was just a lot of over the years, I just took a different turn. So the first 5 years, I was depressed. I went through a lot of suicidal. I was hurt. I was so angry. I just couldn't understand how the justice system could make such a egregious mistake of allowing an innocent kid to go through the system without being connected to a crime and still end up in prison for it. And I remember thinking that everybody that was in place, like the police officer, district attorneys, everybody lied or everybody withheld evidence. Everybody did something that was illegal in the middle of me going through it. And I watched it. And it was I just couldn't believe that was happening. I didn't think that a department could be that insensitive to something in that way. So I was just confused for the first 5 years. So afterwards, I started to, after being depressed, after being sad, after being lost for so long, my family, everybody disconnected on me, I kind of just started to go inside. I started to take better care of myself. I started to read books and I became my own lawyer. I started to fight my case myself. I started to raise my vibration. I started to do everything I needed to do, I felt, to get myself in a better position to get out. So with every denial, I kept pushing forward. Every time I went to court, I was filing my own motions, my own petitions. Every time I went to court, they was denying me. But I kept going. I was sending letters to every organization I could. And it took a lot. I did that for a long time. And that became my life in prison.
At what point was there any support or help for you to have your conviction overturned?
So 1994, I was convicted. I was going to court the whole time. So from 1994 to 2017, I was filing motions, but I never went to court. I was just denied for 20 years until I got in touch with an Innocence organization, Senatorial Ministries in New Jersey. So this is how this happened. It's a good, interesting story. I had got a bogus dirty UA in prison. So they wrote me up for a bogus dirty UA, and I got sent from the minimum facility to the max. And when I got to the max, I got hold to a magazine who had Senatorial Ministries in there. They had just freed an innocent person. I contacted them. They didn't respond back, but I started contacting all organizations, innocence organizations. The Senatorial Ministries was the first organization who responded and said, "We're not taking your case. We will look at it. We're a small organization." And so that was in 2001. They didn't take my case in 2009. We corresponded with each other for 8 years before they took my case. So that's how I got on the track with getting my freedom back.
Persistence.
And
determination. So when they finally stepped in, can you just give us an idea how that works? So you finally were exonerated.
Yeah. So when Senatorial Ministry stepped in 2001, we started corresponding, sending paperwork back and forth. I was in Kansas, they was in Princeton, New Jersey. Jim McCloskey would fly from New Jersey once every other month to do investigative work, gathering the information to get the organization to take my case. He did that for 8 years. 2009, they took my case. They hired my legal team. That's where Cheryl Pollock come in at, my lawyer that I still have to this day. They hired my legal team. So from 2009 to 2017, we gathered information. We gathered evidence. We did all these things, prepare for evidentiary hearing. During that 9 years, we came across information that changed and altered I didn't know the whole time I was in prison. So the whole time I was in prison, I thought it was because it was a other guy named Lamont that dated this witness's niece. Well, come to find out, that had nothing to do with anything. And it had everything to do with a particular police officer that did some illegal stuff that had nothing to do with me. And it just can't, I was a pawn used in the scheme of his. I can't really talk about it because my case has still been litigated on the civil side, but it's all had to do with a police officer. So the whole time I was in prison, I didn't know why or how I ended up in that situation. And then now, 23 years later, well, just 25 years later, 26 years later, I learned things that I didn't know before, that I didn't know that it's like putting together a puzzle. And for years, I was getting pieces, and now the puzzle is finally complete, and I see what happened.
That must bring you some sense of relief, how do you grapple with all those feelings? How this all changed?
It is a form of relief because I went through an experience and I didn't know why. So when you're in a dark room and you don't know how you got there, the why is very important. So that answered a lot of questions for me. Unfortunately, it was a lot of other victims and people that is involved in it that, like my mother, for instance, that kind of, so it solved something for me, but it opened up another room in another area of my life. So, and that's why I advocate so hard, so much for miscarriages of justice, because I understand the effects it have on not just the people that go through that particular experience, but the family. Like I was so close to knit with my family when I went to prison. Like me, I had 5 siblings. We were so close, grew up in the same household. This one thing happened and my mother shifted her attention on me. I had 2 little siblings that she didn't forget about, but she just lost me to the system. So her energy and her attention was trying to get me back. They was neglected in the process of that. They were younger, They were younger siblings. So everybody felt like they neglected or didn't have some. My older brother, he died from drugs and all this other stuff after I came home. So it was a lot of things that happened because of this one event that everybody, a part of the justice system, knew that I wasn't even responsible for. They knew I wasn't responsible for the crime, and they still went through with a conviction. But they don't see the back end of how much it damaged my family. I'm not close to my family now. I grew up without none of my family. I grew up estranged from everybody. But they didn't see that, you know? So I speak about those things because I think everybody need to understand and know that, yeah, it seemed great on my end. I got my life back after 23 years, but the damage and effects, I didn't know how to drive a car when I came home. I had to get my license at 41. I had to start my life, literally start my life at 41. I had no life before then. I was a 17-year-old kid. So emotionally, I had to deal with a lot of things that I feel like I didn't know how to deal with those things. I speak and I teach and I guide other exonerees now in counseling, and we do a lot of things to help other people get out of these situations. But that's difficult for people to come through those situations like that. We don't speak enough about it, but that's a difficult thing for people who have to transition into.
I don't want to linger necessarily longer on it, but I did want it to set the stage for us to talk about Miracle of Innocence, which is the nonprofit you are co-founder with. Share with us how that came to be and what a miracle that it did. Sorry to use the word twice.
It's okay. That's okay. It is a miracle. It was organic and it was beautiful how it came about. So when I was in prison and I was 2016, I'm going through the worst because it's at the end of it. I'm talking to my lawyers. I'm like, look, I really need to, I'm just needing somebody to talk to. I'm stressing them. I know what I'm going through. So Michelle Pilot suggested I talk to Daryl Burton. She said, he's the only person that probably understands what you're going through. He'd been through it. She was his lawyer at one point in time. We had the same lawyer, the same innocent organization that got both of us out. So it was an organic meeting of God, the universe, how we came about to be. So I reached out to him and I was in prison in 2016. And we spoke, and Daryl told me, because he was in my same situation at that time, 10 years prior. So he said, listen, no one's going to know what you're going through. Of course, it's difficult. And the closer you get to the end, it's going to be more difficult. He said, just hold on. And that was the conversation Daryl and I had. So Daryl was scheduled to come have a speaking engagement in Lansing, where I was, a Saturday, 2016. The day it happened, he was in the auditorium. The day it happened, I go to the auditorium, on my way to the auditorium, and a person got killed in front of the auditorium and they closed the yard down. It's literally happened. So me and Daryl didn't get a chance to meet. That was 2016. 2017, I came home. Daryl and I met, had one conversation about Miracle of Innocence, but it wasn't Miracle of Innocence then. It was just, he and I decided, man, we need to do something about getting innocent men and women out of prison and help them once we get home. That was the conversation Daryl and I had. The next week, Miracle of Innocence was born, and we've been moving ever since. We didn't look back. We met in libraries. I was scared of the highway. I was getting the highway scared to go into these meetings. Everything was so chaotic, but Daryl and our focus was the same. We needed to get people out of prison because we knew what it was like to be in that situation where nobody would heard you, nobody believed you, nobody would even take a chance. So we decided to do something about it, and we've been doing something about it ever since.
The main focus then for Miracle of Innocence is it's working to exonerate and to help afterwards. Tell us kind of, where it's at.
Okay, we added a different element to it because not only do innocent men and women need to come home and get their freedom back, but once they come home, there's nothing in place for them. As a person that gets on parole, the state provides a lot of comprehensive care afterwards, right? Based on the state and the federal government. Well, for an exoneree, there's nothing in place. So once Daryl came home, there was no clothes, there was no car, there was no nothing. There was no place to live, there's nothing. When I came home, I had the support of the community in terms of GoFundMe and stuff like that. There was nothing. I had nothing. So the support of my wife, I didn't have family support. I had support of my wife because there wasn't nobody else around. So it was, it's difficult for exonerees coming home, not knowing what they're going to do, where they're going to live, the clothes they need. So we decided to add an element that will help them not only get home, but then get everything they need, get established. Whatever it is they need, we offer the help and care for all those people who need it afterwards.
That's amazing. We're talking with Lamonte McIntyre, who's the co-founder of Miracle of Innocence, a nonprofit that is working to help wrongfully convicted get out of prison, but get back on their feet and really get back on their feet. So you had this great idea. It has the two of you. You have all this energy and stuff. So how did you really create this and make it a system or something that really works and delivers?
Okay, well, we got most of the blueprint come from Senatorial Ministries because we both was clients of of that organization. So they they helped us out a lot. They helped us out a lot with putting together things, and we've been fortunate enough to be he pray a lot. He's a praying man. I'm a praying man. So we've been fortunate enough to understand that God is a moving force behind everything that we do. So we attract all the good people that we need. We did. I mean, from one thing, volunteers, I'm going to tell you, Miracle of Innocence is a network of volunteers whose hearts are huge. I mean, the truth is, volunteers is really the heroes because the organization is ran by the people who care so much about a thing like innocence people or innocent work. Because I and Daryl was helped by volunteers. So the person who helped me was named Jock Hanford. He was a volunteer at Senatorial Ministries. When I was writing my letter saying, I need help, please listen to me, help me out, it was Jock who got my letter. Since the sincerity of all the people, it's like winning the lottery, by the way. When you get an innocence organization on your case, it's the equivalent of winning the lottery, right? 1 in 38 million chances that you'll get a person that'll understand, just believe in you enough to take a chance to look at it. And Jock Hanford was the guy for me. So he was a volunteer. Miracle of Innocence is founded on the same principles. The volunteers, the people who work behind the scenes that you don't hear about, we have a great system of people who care about the work. And that's why passion rules everything else when it comes to these kind of organizations. And we got a bunch of passionate people who care about seeing innocent men and women come home. And that's why it worked.
So nuts and bolts, how do you find the exonerees or the cases?
It's a network. So in order to get the help, for us to get the attention, you have to write in. So sometimes people write in from all over the world asking, we get letters, hundreds of letters daily, pours in to Miracle of Innocence in the headquarters. And we have development teams who go through those letters and we shift them through. And we take time to shift through each letter because the organization resources limited. We had to always raise funds and get money to resources. So we got to be mindful of the cases we take. We got to be mindful of the sincerity of it. We got to be mindful of the evidence that we can gather. Some cases fit the marriage, some cases don't. We got a good team of people who help us get those cases we need. And we get cases from other organizations, believe it or not. So we're a network. Some cases, we done got cases from other people, other places. Those cases come about that because, once again, if it's an organization full of people with the same mindset of helping innocent people got to prison, innocent people come to us. It's a network. It's an energy, and we vibe it like that.
And then how do you connect with people who are exonerated and then lifting them up?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, we have a counseling session every Monday for the exonerees first coming home. But being exoneree myself, I know that that's not the way to go. Because everybody seems like exonerees want to just talk and be. That's not. Everyone want to do that because they feel like they're obligated to help the people who help them out. So people just do it. That's what I was doing, at least. And that was the wrong approach for me because from prison, being systematically programmed to do a thing every day for 23 years, then you're not out of that system. You're out of that system all of a sudden. Your system go through a shock. I didn't know how to explain it before, but my first 2 years, I was depressed. I went through so many different lonely stages. I was so confused. I was trying to talk to people that couldn't relate to me. It was confusing. I missed the people I was around in prison. I missed those people because that was the people I was around for 20 years, 15 years. So when people coming out, like when they coming out, for instance, when Ricky Kidd came out, he didn't want to be around. People didn't want to talk like that. Most people needed to be to themselves and have space and time to develop into being social like that. And I didn't give myself enough time to do that. So that's why now I'm more vocal and being an advocate for speaking about up for exonerees too, because they get put in a situation where they do get used. Not intentionally in a nasty, negative way, but they do be exploited in a kind of a way because you want attention about what's going on, but emotionally, most exonerees are not in a situation to be doing those things.
So how does Miracle of Innocence then help those exonerees, and how do you choose who to help?
It's the counseling. It goes back to that we offer the counseling, which means this is available to you when you need it or if you want it, versus us just being demanding and saying, let's do this, let's go have an interview, let's go do that. No, we don't do that. We say, every week we meet on Mondays. This is a time for you to vent. This is a time for you to say you don't want to be bothered. This is a time for you to express yourself. So we give a Miracle of Innocence offer a platform for them to be who they are in their moment. We don't want to be pushy, because being pushy for me was hard. No one meant to do it, but it was just a difficult thing. Going from being to myself, isolated, to being people in my face asking me questions all day, every day about a thing. I don't know how I felt at that time because I was still in the process. So it was a difficult thing. So I don't push it. Other people may. I don't know. I'm just speaking from Lamonte McIntyre. I don't push that because I understand how emotionally that is, how emotionally draining it is, because you fight to come home. You fight. I fought 23 years to get out of that place. I thought I was going to be able to relax, but that's not what happened. I went to work. See? So I tell all exonerees, take your time and stay in the moment. Eckhart Tolle wrote a book called The Power of the Moment, The Power of Now. Beautiful book. And I advise everybody to take time for a moment and just stay in the moment. That's what I advise. And counseling. I didn't have counseling. Daryl didn't have counseling. We didn't have nobody around us to be able to understand and relate to us. So Miracle of Innocence offered that.
You're a volunteer organization for the most part.
For the most non-profit, volunteer ran.
So what do you need? How can the community step up and assist you all in the work that you're doing?
Unfortunately, the resources, the only thing, like we had to pay for legal fees. We had to pay for everything. We had to pay for, it took over $300,000 on my case, just over $300,000 of travel fees, legal fees. We have investigative fees. We have all these different fees that goes into just helping one exoneree. So the main thing the Miracle of Innocence need is to support donations and sponsors and all those people who sponsored and donated on my behalf to get me home. That's what we need now. And that's what we spend our time doing, just trying to get people to understand that we're here. This is what we do. We want to be a part of it. Volunteers ask us to volunteer every day. We got new people coming in every day. We right now in the process of looking for an executive director. So we've been moving. We've been doing great. We had a great person who's been stepping up for us in that role. We've been doing our team is amazing. Our team is amazing.
Well, with you and Daryl at the helm, of course, where's the best place for people to find out about how they can help you and see what you're doing besides our webcast?
miracleofinnocence.org. You can go to miracleofinnocence.org and it'll show you everything we're doing. The cases we have on deck. We got a few exonerees coming out. 2022 is going to be a big year for Miracle of Innocence. Okay, so if you want to know what we're doing, how to get involved, go to miracleofinnocence.org and it'll just tell you everything and show you everything you need to know and show you what we're doing and how to get involved.
Well, we should share. You now have your own business, successfully running a business, and you're writing a book.
Absolutely. Yes, I have a barber college. I got 40 students in my barber college, Hairlines Barber Academy, Kansas City, Kansas. We're doing great things over there with the community and students. And then I have Off the Top Barbershop. That's my brainchild. I've always dreamt of having my own barbershop. So when I came home, went to barber school, got my barber's license, and I became co-owner of the barber school I went to. And then I opened up my own barbershop, Off the Top Barbershop, Kansas City, Kansas. And that's my business stuff. And then I moved to Arizona, of course. And me and my brother, we said we was going to do some business. So me and my brother started McIntyre's Property Group in Arizona. So I do property here in Arizona. But my book is where all of my time and my attention been going lately. My book is co-written by Rick Tosky. Rick Tosky is a Pulitzer Prize winning writer. You look Rick Tosky up, you'll see Rick Tosky is this book. He's been working on this book since 2016.
And when's it going to be out?
2022. This year.
Great. And are you going to use that as a fundraiser for Miracle of Innocence? Got to throw that out there.
Everything is for Miracle of Innocence. Everything I do is for Miracle of Innocence. Yeah.
What would you say to someone who has been exonerated and hasn't gotten attention or whatever? What words of advice would you have for them and possibly connecting with your organization?
It hasn't gotten any attention yet. Each of they still need the help. Oh, never give up. Focus, laser focus gets us everything we want and need. If we put our energy and our attention on what we want. So if he's in a situation they want freedom, put his attention on freedom. And the universe is going to line up with what he feels and what he thinks in terms of vibration and energy. So I think everybody should put their energy and their attention on what they really, really desire. I really, really, really wanted freedom. So I thought about freedom every day. I spoke freedom. I ate freedom. I slept freedom. I thought about my freedom. So wherever our attention goes, our thought goes, that's where our energy flows. So I think everybody should put their time and energy on what they really want. And it will manifest itself. It will come to pass the way you think about it. So that's what I feel.
How do you find all the energy to do this? And you and Daryl are so busy.
You know, the secret, the key is not eating. That's the secret. No one likes to hear it, but that's the secret. Don't eat. I eat less as I can. I'm a plant-based eater. So is Daryl. And I think that's the key. That's where energy, I get all my energy from foods with energy in it. So stay active, stay motivated, stay positive. And that's the key.
Do you find other organizations willing to work with you? Because there are other innocence organizations.
Absolutely. We have Senatorial Ministries we still in contact with Senatorial Ministries, Second Family. I'm connected to Midwest Innocence Project. They were instrumental in helping me, personally helping me with my case at the end of my case when I came home. So before I came home, Miracle, and they have supported me a great deal. Midwest Innocence Project and Senatorial Ministries supported me a lot. Supported Miracle of Innocence a lot. So yeah, I'm not opposed to working with other organizations. We need it. My objective is to get innocent men and women out of prison. So the more the merrier. All the help I can get, all the support I can get, all the help, the attention, I need it all. I'm supportive of everybody else too, because we're doing the same work. And unfortunately, Daryl and I was on the opposite side of this thing. So we look at it differently. We don't see what other people may see. We just see one thing, the need. We see the opportunity to get men and women their life back. And that's all we want to do.
Lamont, it's very noble work, and we wish you both the best and Miracle of Innocence to continue the great work that you're doing in helping people finally not only achieve their freedom, but be able to grab their life back. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Thank you for joining us for Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice. We're produced by Charitable Communications, and we're proudly sponsored by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation. If you'd like to be a guest on Casey Cares like Lamont, or underwriting opportunities to support our work, please visit our website at kccaresonline.org. And spread the love. You'll find us on Facebook and Twitter at KC Cares Radio, and on Instagram at KC Cares Online. Catch us Saturday mornings, too, at 8 a.m. on ESPN 1510 a.m. and 94.5 FM. Saturday mornings, don't forget. Thanks for joining us on Casey Cares.